This is Kim Hallen, and welcome to today's video short where I'll be explaining why horses actually enjoy eating out of hay nets. Before we dive in, I want to clarify that I'm talking about slow feeder hay nets that are provided on the ground so that the horses are able to apply downward pressure with their noses while they're eating in a similar fashion to what they would normally do while grazing. And I'm going to show you some video footage of this in a little bit. I have also found that my horses prefer hay nets that are freestanding and not tied or otherwise secured in one location. Honestly, they like to be able to nudge, rotate, move, and sometimes even lift the nets and move them a short distance. I want to be clear that this is not a promotional video in any way for any particular brand of hay nets, but because I know I'm going to get a lot of questions, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that my personal favorite brand of hay net is sold by hayburnersequine.com. I find their hay nets to be extremely high quality and very durable. I also want to take a moment to say that I feel very safe using freestanding hay nets with my horses because all of my horses are barefoot, meaning that none of them are shod or wearing horseshoes that could get caught in the netting. I've been using these hay nets for many years and I've never had an incident or injury related to them. But I will say that I check my hay nets at least 2 times per day, and I never leave empty hay nets lying around for extended periods. So now let's jump in and talk about why I believe horses enjoy eating out of hay nets in the manner I've described. And when I say they enjoy it, I don't mean to imply that they prefer eating out of hay nets to grazing in a pasture or foraging in my yard where they have a wide variety of shrubs and flowering plants to choose from. What I mean is that my horses have shown me, time and again, that they much prefer eating out of my slow feeder hay nets than eating loose hay on the ground. So why is this? Let's take a closer look specifically at how the horse uses its upper lip and front teeth while grazing. It's important to note that horses cannot see what lies directly beneath their muzzle when grazing or eating. They rely exclusively on their sense of smell and what they are feeling with their whiskers and lips to select which plants they want to eat. Notice in this clip how Rayleigh and then Tempo use their upper lips to investigate and to clear away leaves and grasses they don't want before grabbing the desired blades with their incisors and biting to break off the tips. Now I'm going to slow the motion down so you can really notice how Tempo is using her lips in combination with her incisors. I especially want you to take note of the side-to-side action of her upper lip and how she presses her lip against the ground as she hunts for the blades she wants. And here it is in only slightly reduced speed. Now, for comparison's sake, I want you to see what it looks like when Puck is eating some loose hay I provided for her on the ground. Notice how she is not pressing her upper lip against the ground, and how differently she's using her mouth than the horses who were grazing were. Puck is mostly using her upper lip to identify some blades, and then almost scooping them into her mouth. Most importantly, notice how she is not grabbing the hay with her incisors, but rather using her tongue to move the hay back toward her molars, where she can grind it. Now let's watch closely while Tempo eats out of the hay net. Look how much more active her upper lip is, and how much more closely this action resembles the natural movements you saw while the horses were grazing. Notice also that Tempo intentionally pushes against the hay net with her nose, in much the same way she did the ground. And look at how she's grabbing the hay with her incisors. She may not be breaking it the way she would grass, but she is using her front teeth to pull it out of the net. This is a similar action as would be required to bite off longer blades of grass in a lush field. So why is all of this important? Just like any animal, horses are happiest when they can behave as nature intended and perform behaviors in the ways they evolved to. Eating out of hay nets that are placed on the ground and that are freestanding allows horses to participate in a much more natural foraging type of behavior that closely mimics the physical movements of grazing, or at least much more so than eating out of a pile of loose hay that's been thrown on the ground. It also provides a great deal more mental engagement, problem solving, and stimulation, which can help reduce the levels of boredom that are rampant in domestic settings, especially for horses who spend time isolated in stalls or in solitary paddocks. I hope you found the information in this video useful and that it will empower you to make the best decisions possible for the health and happiness of your horse. I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to share this video on your personal or business social media sites. You can also visit my website at www.unbridled.guru to learn more about me and the other services I provide through my business.